This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Kicking off hour 2 here on Money Moves, VSiN, the sports betting network, Sirius XM channel 158. Stormy Bonantoni, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. One more hour to go as we are live as always from downtown Las Vegas. Circa Resort and Casino had a great conversation in the last segment with ESPN's John Buccigross. He will be the lead host for the NHL draft on ESPN beginning on Friday. And he did encourage me to make a bet. We just got it in the account at BetMGM. Keaton Verhoff, player from North Dakota, to go under 7.5 for the draft position, minus 125. I could not find anything still on Wyatt Cullen, another player he thought could exceed expectations in the draft. So I will continue to prowl sports books, maybe see what we can find out there, but at least in the books I have accessible, couldn't find anything. But Keaton Verhoff, North Dakota. Let's get it going, under 7.5.
Okay, let me see if I could find it.
It's on BetMGM.
Got it. Yep, I'm looking right now. All right. I'm in.
You're going to come in, team play? Let's do it. Hopefully we can bounce back from the NBA draft.
Yeah, I was going to say, I need this, John.
Which, by the way, I know you were giving grief to our guy, Zach Cohen. I saw like up
No, he's great. Yep.
8 units or so in the draft.
Yeah, I was giving grief to Zach because he's a basketball hipster, and he gave me a "well, actually" when it came to something in the draft yesterday. But outside of that, obviously, Zach has been doing a tremendous job and did a good job on the NBA draft preview yesterday as well, with a smorgasbord of guests, including Bruce Pearl that was on with him.
Yeah.
So, good job by Zach, and hoping that next year's NBA draft goes better. And also, I told this to Matt yesterday, Matt Humans, I was on with them on VSiN Primetime. I also just kind of hope we get more next year, too. This was kind of disappointing in terms of offerings for the NBA draft. So the hope is that maybe there's some more offerings next year, but we'll see.
Sure. And obviously, as I am going through markets currently for the NHL draft, would be nice to see some more there as well. Gavin McKenna has been long predicted to be your number 1 overall pick to the Toronto Maple Leafs in that spot. Minus 3,000, the current price. Ivar Stenberg, your $7 favorite to go number 2 overall. San Jose Sharks currently in that position. Still to come this hour, we'll get into plenty of WNBA. We've got a 4-game slate coming up tonight. We'll talk a little Travelers Championship with Jeff Sherman as well. Vegas odds maker, get into what is the 8th signature event of the PGA Tour season. Best bets at the end of the hour as usual, including 2 World Cup plays that I have. And yes,
we'll have to ask Jeff about that new PGA format.
Yes,
exactly, as well,
for sure.
That's coming up here, which is going to be pretty interesting. Relegation.
Yeah, so I specifically didn't bring this up on the show yesterday because I want to speak to somebody who's more educated on it and can tell us why it's good or why it's not.
Yeah.
You know? So yes, that'll be a fun conversation coming up in just a little bit. Yesterday at the end of the show, we did officially put in our plays that for those of you who are already VSiN Pro subscribers, you've already got the NFL betting guide downloaded and ready to go. You've seen all of the picks for all of the hosts and analysts. For us specifically, we did put in our plays so that they are documented with our Money Moves record moving forward as well. But just to reiterate and go through a little bit of the rationale of the plays that we do have already here in June for the NFL season, what did you ultimately put in pocket?
All right, yeah, so these are pretty simple. We've talked about a lot about these. There's a few more, too, that I've added in the days since we submitted our selections.
Okay.
But, yeah, Cincinnati Bengals over 10.5 wins, plus 115. I think you can play the alternate win total 11.5 at over 2-1 as well. The Falcons over 6.5 wins at minus 115, and then the Falcons to win the NFC South at plus 425. We will see what happens at the starting quarterback position, but I echo a lot of what Adam Burke told us yesterday when we were discussing this division as a whole. I am in the camp that Kevin Stefanski is a damn good coach. And I think that with a roster like this on offense in a winnable division and 2 quarterbacks that I think are pretty serviceable, my expectation is that Tua Tagovailoa will win the job, that they're going to be able to be very competitive, very good, and potentially win that division. So Falcons over 6.5 wins paired with the NFC South, and then the Bengals, some of the ones that I've added as well, like Joe Burrow to win MVP at 10-1. All tied into kind of together. So we'll see. Maybe a little dangerous when you're talking about correlating everything, tying it all together, but I do think the Bengals are on the verge of having a really, really strong year.
I did have a funny moment with my husband yesterday, by the way, because on the show yesterday, we had Adam Burke on, our VSiN managing editor here, who did such great work basically herding cats, making sure that all of us got our picks in for the betting guide, organizing it, writing articles, all of those things. But the 2 of you are also friends with my husband outside of work. And I was talking to him about how it's like, hey, listen, next time you talk to JVT and Adam, you should know they were not very kind about your Panthers yesterday. And he's like, oh my God, I thought you were going to tell me something actually serious, that something was wrong. I was like, no, just wanted to make sure you knew what was up. As for me, yes, we have already broken down the Cincinnati Bengals, but that is a good reminder again as well. We talk about all of the podcasts we have available here at VSiN. If you download Money Moves wherever you get your podcast, you can listen to that full conversation we had with Adam yesterday. You can look to last week when we were discussing the deep dive on Cincinnati specifically. But I do have them to win both the AFC North and over the 10.5 wins at plus money prices, 2-1 for the division, plus 120 for the over 10.5 wins. In the division as well, the Browns under 6.5 wins. It's not like I do not want to get in the habit of laying a minus 160 price for a bet that I have to sit on for 7 months. But this is one that just going through things, I feel pretty confident in.
Well, I would assume because you're laying $1.60 on under 6.5. So I guess my question would be, because you think there's value in under 6.5 at minus 160, would you play Browns at like 10-1 or better to have the worst record in the NFL?
I wouldn't hate it. That would be, I think, a decent thing just to throw in and see what happens. But I didn't want to specifically for the thought process of this is a team that I think is building toward better things in the next coming years. So there's going to be obviously a strong attempt and a want to win games. I just don't think that they have the infrastructure currently in order to do that. And especially at the quarterback position where you look at some of the numbers for who we are anticipating in being the quarterback now in Deshaun Watson, he hasn't done anything for you since 2020, aside from maybe one good half of football against the Ravens, a game in which he came out of getting hurt. So when that's your number one option for somebody we haven't seen anything positive out of in the last 6 years, and you're telling me that that's a quarterback that's better than the other options that you have, that doesn't exactly give me a ton of confidence in Shedeur Sanders or beyond. You also, despite having a defense that I think should still be good and still be competent with the pieces that they have, you still lost the best player in the NFL on that side of the ball, as well as a part of what you did in some of your offseason moves. So I feel like the under 6.5 is the way to go in this one. As far as the Lions, though, these are the bets that I haven't really discussed yet. I am on the Lions to win the NFC North at plus 180 and the over 10.5 wins on them as well, minus 110. It's been well documented that every single year we see at least one team go from worst to first. This is the most obvious candidate. They had a better record than the aforementioned Carolina Panthers last year, and they came in last in their division, if you want to keep that in mind for perspective. But last year was a big season of change, I think, for the Lions. You move on from both of your coordinators as they get head coaching opportunities. They had the most injured defense in the entire league the last 2 years. 31 combined games missed last season from week 1 starters in the secondary alone. So if they stay healthy on that side of the ball, I think 2-4 in the NFC North isn't happening again, right? Also, because despite the success you had last year, because you finished last, you now benefit from the last place schedule as well. It is the easiest schedule in the league in terms of opponent win total, 6th easiest on the board in terms of opponent win percentage from last year as well. Jared Goff, we know, has led the NFL in pass yards, passing touchdowns over the last 2 years. Offensively, they can hurt you in a variety of ways. And defensively, they should be able to do enough as well. So this is a team I actually like so much that in the grid on the betting guide we did this year, and that is one of the features of this year's NFL betting guide. It is every year, but every single one of our hosts and NFL analysts makes their selections for, even if they're not official bets, makes their selections for who they think is going to win every single division, is going to make the playoffs, is going to face off in the Super Bowl. And I have the Lions going to the Super Bowl this year. I think it's going to, in my prediction, I have them and Buffalo going head to head, with Buffalo getting their first Super Bowl. I like the idea of new blood. I think both of these teams are very capable, and the season could set up for them to have a lot of success.
Wouldn't disagree at all. It ties into the New England Patriots thing. I brought this up on Pod of the Futures, which is if you look at some of our selections in the guide, some of the popular win totals that are out there as well, the strength of opponents is such a factor now, I think, in a lot of people's thinking after what we just watched with the New England Patriots, that it's hard not to look at them. But I think that the difference is, too, with this Lions team, they do have that really strong upside on offense that they're going to be able to tear through this thing, potentially win the NFC. So I wouldn't disagree at all when you look at it. I would disagree with your Buffalo Bills selection, but...
Who do you like coming out of that division?
I have a Bengals Ram. Out of that division, I have the Buffalo Bills to win the division, but it's more
I thought we talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, but
Fate
as we
of the Patriots more than a bet on the Bills.
I think it's like a 10-7 type thing. I have a lot of questions about Buffalo, but mine was how about this? This is a rematch of the SoFi Super Bowl, Bengals Rams, but this time the Bengals get a little revenge for me. So Bengals Rams Super Bowl with the Cincinnati Bengals hoisted it up.
That was a big takeaway. Not the Bengals, but the Rams. That was a team that I feel like everyone liked, which I get. Especially when you add a guy like Myles Garrett to the fold, all the talk about even Aaron Donald potentially coming out of retirement, the offensive weapons they have, the Super Bowl being at SoFi, what a storybook this could be. But I don't know. I think there's another team in the NFC West that's going to be ready to go. Not Seattle.
Yeah, your team's going to be interesting. I mean,
very interesting.
Hopefully it's not Mac Jones that's throwing the football.
Oh, my gosh.
What was that?
As I tweeted.
First off, I didn't know he had curly hair like that.
As I tweeted, if you have not seen this video, go to Twitter, look at some of the videos that are coming out of Tight End University that George Kittle puts on every year. It's, yes, a workshop for tight ends, but there's a lot of NFL quarterbacks out there to help them do a lot of the work. Mac Jones among them. And does he not look like for somebody who's in his 20s, does he not look like a 40-year-old uncle at a barbecue?
He looks, I don't even know what to say.
I tweeted, I have no words.
I watched that and I was like, this is one of the greatest athletes on the planet.
It's like uncomfortable to watch. I feel like you're as a professional athlete, you're not supposed to look like that.
Yep. I will say, as we talk about the NFL too, there's a couple of thoughts that are percolating in my mind that I want to start to play on too. You talk about some of these division winners. I was one of I wouldn't say few, but I was one of the few that did select the Cowboys to win the NFC East. And you talk about some of these MVP candidates in the range of about 15-1. Dak Prescott. I have some strong thoughts of the Dallas Cowboys this year as well.
Beautiful. Okay, we need to step aside here, but like we said, the VSiN NFL betting guide is out now. You need to be a VSiN Pro subscriber to get unlimited access to all of it. You know how to do that. Head to vsin.com/subscribe. To the WNBA next on Money Moves.
Hey, let me get your attention real quick, podcast listeners. I've got something for you that feels too good to be true. First, credit where credit is due. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already leveling up your betting game. You're riding along with our best bets and top angles. And when there's a good game on, you're probably getting involved with a few props and alt markets as well. But there's one more layer if you really want to step things up, and that's VSiN Pro. Yeah, I've mentioned it before, but things are only getting better for our pro subscribers. We just rolled out our MLB prop projections, breaking down some of the best edges across strikeouts, hits, home runs, and more. And that's on top of everything else pro subscribers already get, including public betting splits, expert picks, and betting guides across the sports calendar. If you haven't tried it yet, stop sleeping on it. You can get your first month for just $9.99 or save big with promo code POD26 on an annual subscription. Hit the link in the description and start cashing in with VSiN Pro. All right, now back to the show.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
I did want to say real quickly, as we were discussing some of our NFL betting guide bets, early futures that we have already put in the account looking ahead to the 2026-27 season, was another reason why I like the Lions, in addition to all the stuff that we already laid out, was also just my lack of confidence elsewhere in the division, right? I think that the Chicago Bears are a team that's poised to potentially take a step back. Green Bay is a team that really has me confused about what they're going to be. Detroit, meanwhile, felt like a team that, like, I know what they are, and if they stay healthy, they should be much better for a team that was already over 500 last year.
Agreed.
What's your feel on do you have any general thoughts?
No,
like, do you think
right.
Chicago's poised to repeat what they did last year?
No, I would echo all the general thoughts that you've thrown out there. And with the Lions, not by default, but with the ability to take advantage of that schedule, I think they should be able to win this division and win it relatively comfortably when all is said is done. I have questions about the blind faith that Kyler Murray and the Vikings are going to be good. I mean, yeah. It's not a huge sample size, but I will say this. A lot of people are, and to an extent rightfully so, giving Kevin O'Connell a lot of credit for Sam Darnold, but Sam Darnold was really good again last year under Kubiak, and so maybe Darnold's just kind of figured out something. There was a lot of people that rushed to give O'Connell credit for Daniel Jones' season last year because he was just on the roster, and so I think there's this inflated sense that O'Connell is going to be able to do whatever he wants with whatever quarterback's there. You and I watched J.J. McCarthy a lot last year, and that was not the case. And I don't know if Kyler Murray is just going to run away with this job and just be, the next Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, whatever, revitalized quarterback you want to use to fill into that slot. And so I think that there's a chance that the division might be slightly weaker with the regression of Chicago, and if Minnesota never really catches on. I'll say this, I brought this up to Mitch to get your thoughts on it. So if you go back to Kyler Murray's time in Arizona, let's assume that he wins the job. He's a minus 1,000 favorite to do so the last time we looked. He really did like to zero in and just high volume target his number one wide receiver. Are we expecting a big volume season from Justin Jefferson, and should we seriously be looking at him for Offensive Player of the Year at 14-1?
I love that angle. Yeah. I think absolutely, especially considering it felt like at times when J.J. McCarthy was trying to target Justin Jefferson, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Mm-hmm. And when you have one of the best, if not the best talents in the entire National Football League on your side, you're going to want to get that ball the guy. Yeah. I mean, you're going to want to get that guy the ball, feed him, right? Yeah. So, I think that's a pretty appropriate response if you do think Kyler Murray, to your point, is going to be the guy as the odds would indicate he would be. I'm just curious if this, career resurgence, rejuvenation, whatever you want to call it, actually takes hold for him. And not to say that he was bad in the past. He has, I would say, a great half a season, if not a little bit more in him before it kind of peters out and the season falls apart. So can you get the longevity there?
Who do you have more faith in turning it around?
Him or Tua?
Yeah. We'll remove the injuries from the equation. Let's just assume they both play, a full season. Who would you have more faith in?
I think Kyler, but Tua plays in the easier division.
Okay. Whoa. Insulting. How could you say that about the Carolina Panthers, the team that's going to win 12 games and run away with the NFC South?
None of those things are anything that I have said. Although I did pick Carolina to repeat in the division.
You did.
But I didn't say they're going to win 12 games. Listen, I know what we've got here, but it is a lesser than division. The proverbial we.
Uh-huh, yeah, okay.
Relax. I'm not talking about no, trust me. As somebody who,
Chris Norman?
Never mind. That said, let's shift gears, get into the WNBA. I know there are a handful of angles that you have on today's card. You were also watching the Liberty go wire to wire in Vegas yesterday, do work against the Aces. Any big takeaways from that result?
I mean, not great. So there's a couple of things. First off, the Aces, very quietly when they had won 8 out of 9 games. I'm stroking out.
There.
Yeah, they were actually 7th over that stretch in defensive efficiency. They had been winning despite their defense because their offense had been so good. And yesterday, that offense dries up. Asia Wilson doesn't have a particularly good game. And as you mentioned, they really are never in it for the most part, outside of cutting the lead to 9 a couple of times, 7 a couple of times in a loss. Of their last 2 losses, and they've lost 2 out of the last 4, both have come by double digits and pretty strong as well. They haven't really been in them. So you do wonder if that hot stretch was just that, and we're about to see this Aces team, who defensively has shown a lot of signs of being pretty average, really reverting back to the mean and slipping, especially now as this Liberty team is getting healthy. Although Satu Sabali yesterday, elbows of the dome, had to leave with an injury, only played 8 minutes, so we'll see what that means for them. But the Liberty are starting to get healthy. We know how good the Lynx are, and we still haven't seen Nafisa Collier out there either. The Dream, who we'll talk about in a little bit, have been playing very good basketball as well. If they all 5 starters averaging double digits. So maybe there's a reality in which the Aces, who are currently in second, maybe start to slip if this team's going to start to show its true form. But just worth pointing it out, Brandon Stewart last night, 20.6 rebounds, 4 assists. Aces will be back in action on Thursday night. They get the Wings. So we will get to see AZ Fudd and Paige Beckers out here in Sin City, see if they can go toe-to-toe with the Aces there. But as far as today's concerned, so there's, like you said, there's stars today, right? Caitlin Clark's going to play. Olivia Miles is going to play. Angel Reese is going to play. I thought this was interesting. I wanted to go to the Dream and Valkyries game really quick because this is a pretty good game on paper. Dream opened up as a 1.5-point favorite, total 166.5. Natalie Nakase talked about this, the head coach of the Valkyries. Angel Reese has been incredible. 16 points, 12 rebounds over her last 10 games, shooting 43% from the floor. And Nakase talked about keeping her off the offensive glass tonight. Take a listen.
Yeah, well, I had a good time with her at USA, so I know the type of physicality and the type of heart that she plays with. So we got to match that. Like I said, we always do team defense first, and so it's matchup based, but it's also just making sure she averages, I think, 5 or 6 offensive rebounds. So we got to make sure we take that away.
And I think she's a pretty good coach, obviously. So I think and this is a Valkyries team, you look at them statistically, one of the better teams. I think they're actually first in points in the paint allowed, so pretty good at cutting off the restricted area. Maybe a little focused on Angel Reese a bit. I actually texted our guy, Doug Kazarian, about this. He had a good nugget on this, too. Had mentioned that the Valkyries often play 5 out, so you can see her struggling with rebounds because she's just going to be outside. She's going to be playing along the perimeter defensively and not there to grab offensive rebounds or defensive rebounds, I should say. And so Her points and rebounds prop is 25.5, which is a big number, shaded to the under at minus 125 or so. She's $1.60 favorite to get a double-double today because she's just been on this insane run. But thought that Reese under 25.5 points and rebounds tonight was worth looking at. And I'm going to take a shot with the Valkyries tonight, too, at home against Atlanta.
Another one of the stars you mentioned, big Rookie of the Year favorite, Olivia Miles, the Minnesota Lynx, best team in the league to this point, looking to bounce back from a loss against the Washington Mystics. Washington now won 3 in a row, and it has a second straight meeting against the Lynx, who have dropped just one game, by the way, on the road in 2026. They're big road favorites here, sitting 8.5 in Washington. Anything stand out?
I mean, this is just the classic. Are we at the top of the market for a team that has been playing as well as they have? We saw an overnight of 5.5 in favor of Minnesota, and we're up to that 8.5 mark that you see right now. Total's been bet up a little bit to 168.5. And I think the same could be said of Olivia Miles. You know, you look at her last 10 games, 21.2 points, 4.8 rebounds, 5.5 assists. She's shooting 60% from the floor over that stretch as a guard and 47% from beyond the arc. So again, like not only for the team, but for Miles, points prop 18.5, points and assists 24.5. You know, would we benefit maybe shorting this Lynx team? And you know, you mentioned the Mystics. The Mystics do have over these last couple of games some pretty impressive pelts on the wall. They've played extremely well. They're kind of a younger team from what I understand and a little plucky, so you can catch some of these teams at the right time. And you look at the victories that they have. You mentioned the Lynx team that they just played on the road. Now it's a home and home, so maybe a little bit of revenge for Minnesota, considering that, and that's what the market's playing here. Beat the Liberty on the road by 3 and then the Sun. So we'll see if that comes to fruition, but just really interesting to see that market's kind of buying in here a bit against this Mystic squad, going all the way up to 8.5, despite the opener on the overnight of like 5.5 here.
Another repeat matchup we have is the Fever and Mercury. You mentioned Caitlin Clark in action once again here. The Fever just beat the Mercury by 9 the other day at home on Monday. Phoenix, worst ATS team in the league right now. Can the Fever win and cover at home?
One would think, but I think this is another player prop angle, and obviously it's Caitlin Clark. The other day, she gets another 20 and 5 in terms of points and assists. The 6-game stretch now, most consecutive 20-plus and 5-plus assist games in WNBA history. Points and assists tonight's 30.5. Shit, it's the under minus 123. So you do wonder if that is going to be the case. I don't know if you saw this the other day. So she got called for a technical because she was clapping, right?
Yeah.
And did you see the press conference afterward?
I haven't seen the clip. I know it went viral, though.
I mean, she was heated, and she's like, we might as well just pick somewhere on the calendar the game I'm going to get suspended for. So she was pretty heated about what's going on here.
I saw the written quote, not the actual, how it sounded. So
it was pretty good. It was pretty good if you're, if you like that sort of thing. But you do wonder, again, similar to what we're talking about, the common theme amongst all of these, with these stars playing the way that they are, how public they are, how popular they are, is it worth it to look at Clark? And it's worth noting this 6-game stretch that we talked about. We should put some numbers behind this. 25.7 points, 8.7 assists on 50% shooting from the floor. She has not shot the ball well from deep during this stretch or for the season. But you do wonder if that points and assist prop, 30.5, maybe a little too high for Caitlin Clark, considering how well she's been playing.
I don't care as much about the clap as I want a repeat of the Sophie Cunningham point to Dawana Bonner. That was pretty electric.
It's pretty good. It's good trolling, especially when you don't respond at all outside of just what she was doing.
Right? Like the face didn't even move.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be fun just to see, especially coming out of that game on Monday, having that matchup again. I think it should be a fun one coming up tonight. Real quickly, I know we're going to break, but in terms of the odds for the Sky and Fire, where are we sitting at on that one?
I didn't have much here, but Chicago opened up as a 1.5 point favorite. Total is 168.5. So right now it's up to 2.5. Total is 169.5. I guess it's worth pointing out that the Sky did find themselves in some really tight contests and then let go of the rope in a road game against Connecticut. Got blown out 92-63, and they have lost 6 straight.
Okay, when we come back, you hear that music. Jeff Sherman, Vegas oddsmaker, is going to join us. Talk through a little bit of the golf. We got the Travelers Championship set to get underway tomorrow. Scotty Scheffler, your short shot again. Can he get over the hump this week? Perhaps. We'll discuss.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Bonantoni, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Coming off Wyndham Clark's wire-to-wire win last week's U.S. Open. We've got another loaded field this week, the 8th and final signature event of the PGA Tour season coming up beginning tomorrow with the Travelers Championship. To help us break that down and a whole lot more, very excited to have Jeff Sherman join us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Las Vegas odds maker. You can follow him on X as well, at Golf Odds, appropriately termed for this conversation, Jeff. And let's start real quickly just at the top, I guess, here. Scottie Scheffler, another result where he's close but can't quite get it done. He's always going to be a short number atop the odds board, but are you surprised that he hasn't been able to get a win since week 1 of the tour season at this point?
Well, we just are seeing a Scottie Scheffler that we haven't seen the past couple of years. He's got, putting deficiencies again, like we've seen a few years ago. And he's just not putting the 4 rounds together to get it finished. And there's always some golfer that's going lower and beating him out. He's come close a few times, but, his odds have drifted accordingly. So he's 4-1 this week at the Travelers. And, there was a point he was 5-2 and getting a lot of support. So you're starting to see a drift in his odds at this point.
Do you think that there's some permanence to this, Jeff? I mean, you would know better than anybody, but we can go down the list of golfers who have had these hot flashes and streaks in their careers where they looked untouchable and then ultimately reverted back to the norm. Could this be the truth for Scottie Scheffler, who looked just that, untouchable for a while?
I think it will be. And, this is an extreme example, but you guys remember David Duval when he reached number 1 in the world, and then he couldn't find his game a few years later. But I'm not saying that's going to happen to Scottie Scheffler, but these guys all go through something and can reach a peak. And Scottie was playing the second best I've seen in 30 years to Tiger. So when you reach a plateau like that, you really can only come backwards. And it feels like, he's always going to be in contention, but I don't know if he's going to be out there dominating and winning by 4 or 5 shots like we saw Tiger do consistently.
And I guess that's at least nice for us as bettors that we don't have to, or we haven't had to go rather to the winner without Scottie markets this season, right? You've just been able to get the better odds on the other golfers here. But as you look at the field, I said it off the top, it's stacked once again with the big names: Scheffler, Schauffele, Oberg, Fleetwood Young. You've got the defending champ at the U.S. Open now in Wyndham Clark. Could he repeat? Any names that stand out to you in terms of fit and value where they sit on the odds board?
Yeah. The only one we're missing is McIlroy this week. So, like you said, you get longer odds on everybody with Scheffler being so short. I only played one golfer this week, Siwoo Kim at 33-1, and it's a golfer that I've been on all season in the majors, and his stats and his approach have been great. Need to be about 20 under par to win it here. I think he's going to fit the course well. I know. His stats on this course previously haven't been as outstanding as other golfers, but he's just had a solid season, and I thought that was a little bit of value. He's pretty much 25-1 on the market. And Russell Henley, I'm not on him this week, but coincidingly with Siwoo Kim, he's been another golfer I've been on this year a lot, and he already came off his win earlier, so I think it's Siwoo Kim's turn for that.
Any long shots you would look at here in a tournament like this?
It's tough because of the names at the top, like you mentioned. The only thing is, coming off the major, some of these guys that have been in contention, it's tough. These signature events the week after a major, it's so taxing on these guys that, they're like, I definitely wouldn't be looking for Wyndham Clark to follow this one up, but I didn't go too deep down the board and find anyone 50-60-1 that interested me.
Jeff Sherman, Las Vegas odds maker, joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. So if Clark is somebody you're avoiding, we always like to ask that question. Are there some guys in particular you would want to stay away from in general this weekend?
Well, like you mentioned, Clark, I definitely would stay away from Jake Knapp. He missed the cut last week in the U.S. Open after returning from injury. And you need to see these guys get some tournaments under their belt so you can feel confident in them. So it's going to be his second one off a missed cut now. And I would look to oppose him if that is available. There's not a cut this week, just 72 golfers. But if he's in any tournament matchups, I think he's still going to be finding his way around the course.
All right, let's shift gears to a little bit of what we saw last night and spinning this thing forward as the first round of the NBA draft in the books. We'll see what the second round brings. I'm going to read this to you concerning the Utah Jazz. After starting 61 to 72 games, it is being reported that Ace Bailey likely to come off the bench for the Jazz next season. Jeff, my Jazz are so deep that Ace Bailey's got to ride the pine. This team's going to win the Western Conference. What say you?
I don't know about winning the West, but I think that they're incorrectly priced in the market based on them being healthy, because we've seen a couple years of management of the players. So you look at their starting lineup, and I expect them to be an over 500 team in the West. They're a team that, that's a team that at the beginning of the second half of the season, right when they traded for Jaren Jackson Jr., Ed and I here started talking about them for next year. Saying they've been playing marketing the way they have for 2 years now. When they actually get to the position, they drafted Peterson, they're where they want to be now. And they're going to be a team that is going to be a quick riser. And just like we saw with San Antonio last year, you need to take advantage of that now, because after this season, they're going to be one of those teams in the 25-1 range. So you can get them at 150-1 now and maybe have something to maneuver with later.
If they maybe are a little bit more ahead of schedule than people think, and JVT certainly thinks they are, how would you grade his futures bet on the Jazz against the Charlotte Hornets for the NBA Finals next year?
Mitch and I have gone splitsies, Jeff, on an exact matchup. No result, just need the matchup. A Jazz Hornets NBA Finals at 10,000-1.
Well, you have to like the Hornets because I think they have staying power. I was on them last season, and I think that they're going to continue to be there. Just grow with that team, and that's what I hoped for last season. You take a young team and let them grow, and they did. And, I know we're going to get to talking about the Heat, but if you had the Hornets of today play the Heat of today, I don't think the Heat could hang with them because they don't have the shooting to keep up with them. So you just look at something like that, and that's going to keep them in every game.
And I'll say, even in the draft last night, you bring in Christian Anderson from Texas Tech, who is another shooter. How many good three-point shooters are they going to have on this Hornets team?
Yeah, they're going to be really good. So let's focus in on the Heat really quick, Jeff, because I'm one that, I think that if you look at the stack of the Eastern Conference, or the stack of the Eastern Conference, I would personally put about 3 or 4 teams ahead of Miami, and that doesn't include some potential improvements, like what if the Pistons add some folks, especially like a Taylor the Hero type or whatnot. So where did you ultimately come out when it came to Miami, when it came to where their spot is in the Eastern Conference and how you want to power rate them post Giannis acquisition?
Yeah, now that I've had some time to digest this, obviously you start at New York and Boston, even though Boston might have some changes. But then you can go to Detroit and Cleveland that are going to be solid regular season teams. Even if they don't perform in the playoffs, you expect them to get wins in the 50s. Then you get to this group of Indiana, Philadelphia, Charlotte, Atlanta, Orlando. I think Miami's in the middle of that. So I think the best they can do is maybe finish 5 to 8, and there's a chance that they can miss the playoffs. And the way that they're priced right now, I've seen a win total on them, which I think is pretty high. I would be much lower than that. I think there could be some value on them missing the playoffs this year.
Yep, I would tend to agree when you look at where this team is ultimately going to be. I do have to ask, of course, because you and I, rivals of sorts, you're a Lakers guy, I'm a Clippers guy, but there is some news floating out there that if the Clippers cannot come to a contract extension with Kawhi Leonard, that he will be on the table to be dealt. What can Kawhi do, given what we have seen from him, the inconsistency in terms of availability, but the upside when he does play? What does he do from a power rating perspective for some of these teams if they can go and grab him? I know he says he doesn't want to play in Detroit, but if the Pistons grab him, where would you put Detroit in the East?
Yeah, I mean, if they added him and didn't have to give up, stuff. I mean, obviously adding him to Cade Cunningham would be a great start there to get him right up there. I could. It depends what Boston does. I would put him right behind New York, but Boston is going to be the interesting one to see if they actually do move on from Brown, which sounds like they will. And they might have to be revamped and take a step back. So potentially an Eastern team could move up to that 2 spot behind New York.
What do you make of the rumors that they're going to, your Lakers might trade LeBron for a Jarrett Allen type with Cleveland?
I would actually do that in a heartbeat. Yeah. I think that, if you can get anything for LeBron at this point, you're going to start seeing more of a decline out of him. And if you can get a younger piece that you can have, especially someone like that Luka would like, I think you would do that at this point. I mean, I would personally, but I think the Lakers should move forward without LeBron. That's my take, and it was last year. I mean, even though he did take the role of the third person, and they did well when he did that, I still think that it's Luka's team, and they should move forward at this point. And if they can get any piece doing a sign and trade with LeBron, I think they should.
It's too bad you're over the phone. I wish you could have seen the smirk on JVT's face when you said that, Jeff. Thank you so much. We appreciate the time, and we'll be bugging you more and more.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
Jeff Sherman, everybody. And you can follow him as well on X at Golf Odds. Appreciate the breakdown on both the NBA.
Get the season
and
started.
The PGA
Let's
Tour.
go. I'm so ready.
We got to step aside here when we come
Summer
back.
League's coming.
We're wrapping things up with our best bets, including the NHL draft bet that we added to the account. And I do want to react to what Mike Babcock had to say yesterday on the podium in his first appearance as the head coach of the Edmonton Oilers.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We are wrapping up this Wednesday edition of Money Moves. VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM, channel 158. Live, as always, from downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. And did you know you can cash in this football season right here in Vegas with 3 different Circa Sports contests, entries starting at $1,000, all with no rake. That means every dollar stays in the prize pool. Circa Million, 18 weeks, 128 ways to win. Survivor, pick one winner each week. Last one standing wins. And Circa Grandissimo for your high rollers, $100,000 entry. Enter in Nevada, play from anywhere, 30 million guaranteed. Head over to circasports.com for more details. That's circasports.com. Stormy Bonantoni, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. From football to football, as we head out to the pitch, 2 games in action as the third and final games of the group stage are underway. What is the groan for?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm the one that should be groaning based on what's happening in the Switzerland-Canada match.
You're going to laugh. I mean, I think you're genuinely going to laugh because this is something that I would be looking up on a break on Wednesday, June 24th. But the 2028 Team USA Olympic basketball roster doesn't really look great on paper.
Oh, what is wrong with you? Why are you the way that you are?
I just you know, like sometimes like a dog and something gets my attention. I'm like, let me read this article really quickly. I mean, right now, projected roster for Team USA in 2028.
We're not doing this.
Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple, Jalen Duren, Amin Thompson, Scotty Barnes, Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Tyrese Halliburton, Bam Adebayo, and Jason Tatum. I mean, maybe Devin Booker and Evan. Oh, yeah, just no.
Why are you doing this?
Not really going to be great.
Reminder, Chicago Cubs up 10-3 on the Mets. Soak that in.
Yeah.
Just watch it. Just watch over
This is
there.
work.
Yeah. We'll talk about that
When we're
later.
doing our show, when we're together
Meanwhile-
in the summer of 2028 doing our show, remember this moment.
Meanwhile, Switzerland dominating play here so far against Canada. 70% possession on their side.
Pretty weak backcourt.
Scoreless. 0-0 tie right now in the 45th minute. A little bit frustrating as somebody who has Switzerland over 1.5 goals. Still plenty of time. Would like that to happen. Please help me out. Meanwhile, Bosnia-Herzegovina and Qatar. What?
You went through that pretty quickly.
Wouldn't you?
Yes.
2-1 Qatar trailing at this point. And we did see Bosnia minus 265 favorite around the closing time. So we'll see if they hang on. The total has already gone over as it was juiced to do so, minus 170. Brazil still to come a little bit later on today against Scotland. Big minus 310 plus favorites. Should win, you would imagine, although we could have an alien sighting potentially in that match, you tell me?
Yeah, there's a Brazilian psychic that has predicted that aliens will come down and abduct players and fans from the stadium here during this game. So free roll on Brazil minus 310, it would seem.
Well, listen, we already saw that.
What are the house rules on alien invasion? I would assume that you get a refund.
There's got to be something for that on the prediction markets, right? Can you go search to see if somebody requested that as a potential market? I mean, we did already see the witch doctor from Ghana come through cursing Harry Kane, who, maybe good news for England looking ahead to the weekend, said he has released Harry Kane from the curse. He's allowed to score goals again. So we'll see if that ultimately comes to fruition when all is said and done. That said, we do have some World Cup bets, or I do at least, as we get to the best bets portion of the program. We got to recap before we look ahead to what we're adding in pocket. Not a great day for your girl yesterday in the World Cup. We got a loss and a push. Croatia ends up beating Panama by 1, so that's the push. England, as I mentioned. What was the exact quote from the broadcast yesterday about England historically, like struggling in Massachusetts? Yeah. So accurate. So that obviously doesn't end up coming through for us. Neither does Darren Peterson to go, whoops, no, that should have been number 1 overall. That's my fault. Number 1
You nailed it.
overall. Yeah, I did. I know. Where was that? So unfortunate there. Just trying to have a little bit of fun on the draft. Tailing what was a nice plus money price. Didn't get there. How about you?
Yeah, I didn't have fun last night.
Yeah.
Didn't have fun last night.
You should tell them the GIF you sent me.
The picture of the massive fissure in the earth with a tiny little Band-Aid on it.
I said, at least you got Darius Acuff
To go over, and it was like, yeah, that's great. So Darren Peterson.
So yes, the Band-Aid is
Yep, first overall pick. AJ Debonza, 3rd overall pick. Braden Burry's 5th, and then Adaimara to go 6th. So a lot of red X's. We persevere and we move on. That's what we do here.
All right, looking to today, obviously this game is already in action, but we gave it out earlier in the program. Switzerland team total over 1.5 plus 150 against Canada. See in the second half if they can capitalize on some of their opportunities. And also later on in the evening, rolling with South Korea. Didn't want to lay minus 170. Just ended up going with the spread here. -1, so you get the push if they only win by 1 in this spot, but obviously the hope is to win. I think this could be a 2-0, 3-0 type of a game. So give me South Korea getting it done from that standpoint. And we had a great conversation earlier in the program with ESPN's John Buccigross. Reminder, if you missed any of the program or if you want to go back and listen to everything that he had to say, download Money Moves wherever you get your podcasts. When I told him that Keaton Verhoff, his over-under prop position was set at 7.5, he said, oh, that's going under. So I trust him and his research and his intel. Let's hope that is the case. -125 on Keaton Verhoff under 7.5.
Cool. Hopefully you get them all. We'll see. Switzerland with the team total, not doing you any favors the way they're playing, but do think they should be able to at least grab this victory. For me, 3 today. Valkyries plus 2.5. Looks like the best of the market so far. It's down to 1.5. Not the biggest difference in the world. Still think it's playable there at 1.5. Angel Reese under 25.5 points and rebounds at -125 in that same game against said Valkyries. And then with you on the Keaton Verhoff under 7.5, just because John Buccigross said so.
Okay, last couple minutes here.
Analysis.
Last couple minutes here, because one of the questions that I wanted to ask Bucci about earlier, but didn't have the opportunity, just ran out of time, was about Mike Babcock and his introductory press conference yesterday. He was officially announced as the head coach of the Edmonton Oilers, introduced, had about 45 minutes on the podium in front of media answering questions. And if any of you hockey fans out there were listening into the press conference and hoping or expecting for any sort of apology or taking ownership or accountability, anything like that, you would be sadly mistaken. That did not happen at all. He had some very interesting answers, and it's not all bad, right? I think there was some element of, when you look toward what Edmonton can do in the future and how he wants to approach his relationships with players, that he did say that, you know, there are some things that I can do differently based on how people feel. However, when he was asked about why he left Columbus, instead of giving any of the true answer to that, he basically blamed his wife, which I found interesting. Quote, it was very evident before the year started. I hadn't benched anybody. I hadn't talked to anybody. I hadn't sat anybody out. And it was evident we weren't together as a staff for the get-go. My wife gave me a call and she said, it's time to get out of there. I've been retired. I was pretty good at it. I got back to being retired.
Hell yeah. It's her fault. Sounds like it's her fault. Typical woman.
And it's not like you expect a full, like, mea culpa, but like a little contrition, I think.
That's what kept Brendan Sorsby out of the NFL. Didn't show enough contrition.
True. I mean,
a lot of people said that.
That's basically.
That's what they said in the letter.
Yeah, I saw Nicole Auerbach, friend of the show. Like, she was tweeting about how.
Is she?
Yeah, we've had her on a number of times.
I mean, she might be your friend. Friend
of the show and my friend.
Okay, there we go.
We can work on her becoming your friend if you like. Although she's married, so keep that in mind.
I mean, you don't have to go down that path.
But no, it was just like, I thought there would be at least a little bit more of, I have learned from XYZ, it'll be different. Some of the things that he said, though, did give me some optimism about what Edmonton can be, though. He talked about having conversations with Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid in the leadership group, and saying that, like, they want to be coached hard, essentially. And he even said on the podium, it's all well and good to say those types of things in June, but how are you going to be feeling when we're in the heat of it? Had those conversations. They said, no, we want to win now. We want to do what it takes to win.
Will they have a goaltender?
Great question. Because to your point, and we brought this up yesterday, the Edmonton Oilers are still going to have all the same problems that they have had, unless you add some forward depth, blue line depth, and a goaltender.
Right.
Those are all still the same problems.
So look, again, the intricacies of hockey escape me. The more I watch, the more I will grasp onto them. But the nuances of being a head coach in the NHL elude me. I don't know really what's going on. But every time I hear about these new coaching hires or some of the changes, it always is tied to non-tangible things such as being coached hard and spirit and gusto and all these sort of things. Can I get some actual answers onto how we're going to fix how crappy this defense and goaltending has been?
Well,
can we get those fixes instead of just being like, I'm going to coach you hard? Like, okay, but if your goaltender sucks, yelling at him more is not going to make that any better.
And to your point, it is kind of funny when we had this discussion yesterday, we talked about at large the success that he has had in his career, Mike Babcock, that is. His name is so hard for me to say for some reason. But
Babs.
A lot of that hasn't been in recent history. He's been retired for 7 years. The last time that he actually did win was in the Olympics, to which he had a goalie, by the way, which will help.
Now we can talk about the Olympics.
That is a comment versus we're supposed to give our best bets. Let me look at the USA basketball roster.
The projected
You're
2028
insane. The Edmonton Oilers,
roster.
11-1 shots to win it all next year in the Stanley Cup final. Florida Panthers, with all the moves they have made, co-favorites with the defending Stanley Cup champs in the Carolina Hurricanes. That's a wrap for us. Get
Olympic
me
roster.
out of here.
You see Cooper Flag. That makes some sense, but guard depth's a little questionable.
Let's cut our mics, please.